Good evening, dear viewers, and welcome to this Kuwait television special program covering the 46th GCC Summit held in the Kingdom of Bahrain. Under the auspices and patronage of His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa bin Salman Al Khalifa of the Kingdom of Bahrain, Gulf leaders convened in the capital, Manama, to address weighty issues and emerging challenges that will shape the coming phase of the Gulf priorities. The summit arrives at a crucial moment as member states seek to strengthen unity, reinforce cooperation, and build a forward-looking Gulf framework. Discussions focus on stability, economic development, regional security, and the evolving needs of Gulf societies. The 46th Bahrain Summit sets the tone for a renewed phase of collective Gulf action. During the summit, His Highness the Emir Sheikh Mish'al Al-Ahmad Al-Jaber Al-Sabah, may Allah protect and bless him, delivered a speech at the opening session commending the Kingdom of Bahrain on hosting the 46th GCC Summit, congratulating them on obtaining a non-permanent member at the UN for 2026-2027, while condemning the Israeli occupation's aggression on the state of Qatar and the Gaza Strip, as well as vowing Kuwait's commitment to continue working with the Republic of Iraq to complete marine boundary demarcation. Let's follow for more on this in His Highness's speech.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. حضرة صاحب الجلالة الأخ العزيز الملك حمد بن عيسى الخليفة ملك مملكة البحرين الشقيقة، إخواني أصحاب الجلالة والسمو، قادة دول مجلس التعاون لدول الخليج العربية، معالي الأمين العام لمجلس التعاون لدول الخليج العربية، أصحاب المعالي والسعادة، الحضور الكرام، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. يطيب لي أن أستهل كلمتي بالإعراب عن أسمى آيات الشكر والامتنان لأخي حضرة صاحب الجلالة الملك حمد بن عيسى الخليفة ملك المملكة البحرين الشقيقة، وبالغ عبارات التقدير والثناء لشعب مملكة البحرين الكريم على حفاوة الاستقبال وكرم الضيافة، وخالص تهانينا لتولي مملكة البحرين الشقيقة رئاسة الدورة الحالية للمجلس الأعلى لمجلس التعاون لدول الخليج العربية، متمنين للأشقاء كل التوفيق والسداد في مواصلة مسيرة التكامل والرخاء لهذا المجلس المبارك. كما نهنئ مملكة البحرين الشقيقة على انتخابها هذا العام عضواً غير دائم في مجلس الأمن للفترة 2027-2026، مما يعكس المكانة المرموقة التي تتبوأها على الساحة الدولية والثقة العالية بقدرتها على المساهمة بفعالية في الجهود المشتركة لصون السلم والأمن الدوليين. ويسرني أن أعرب عن وافر التقدير وعظيم العرفان لإخواني أصحاب الجلالة والسمو قادة دول مجلس التعاون على ما أبدوه من تعاون صادق خلال فترة رئاسة دولة الكويت للدورة السابقة لمجلسنا، فقد لمسنا منكم جميعا العزيمة والإصرار على السير على نهج الآباء المؤسسين، ورأينا جهودا دؤوبة بذلت لتحقيق أهداف هذا النهج الذي يدعو إلى التماسك والتعاضد ويمضي بخطى واثقة نحو رفعة شعوبنا وازدهار أوطاننا، يستلهم الثبات من مبادئ سامية ويستمد الحكمة من قيم راسخة. إخواني أصحاب الجلالة والسمو، إدراكاً للمكانة المحورية التي يحظى بها مجلس التعاون كقوة سياسية واقتصادية فاعلة على الساحتين الإقليمية والدولية، فقد شهدت الدورة السابقة سلسلة من الاستحقاقات الهادفة التي تعزيز شراكات المجلس مع عدد من الدول الشقيقة والصديقة والمنظمات الإقليمية والدولية، واستضافت دولة الكويت جانباً كبيراً منها، وأسهمت في إدارة وتيسير أعمال جانب آخر برئاسة مشتركة، انطلاقاً من إيماننا العميق بأهمية توسيع آفاق التعاون الاستراتيجي لمجلس التعاون. وأتوجه هنا بجزيل الشكر والتقدير إلى معالي الأخ جاسم محمد البديوي الأمين العام لمجلس التعاون والسادة الأمناء المساعدين وكافة العاملين في الأمانة العامة على ما بذلوه من جهود مخلصة ومتفانية أسهمت في إنجاح مهام رئاستنا للدورة السابقة. إخواني أصحاب الجلالة والسمو، إن مجلس التعاون بوعي أبنائه وتماسكهم قد تجاوز ظروفاً إقليمية ودولية معقدة وتحديات جسيمة، وحقق الاستقرار عبر الأمن الجماعي والمصير المشترك، مؤكداً للأجيال أن الوحدة وتآزر الجهود سبيلان لعبور التحديات نحو السلام. ومن هنا ندين مجدداً بأشد العبارات العدوان الإسرائيلي الغاشم على دولة قطر الشقيقة، مؤكدين تضامننا الكامل معها، وأن أي عدوان تتعرض له دولة عضو في هذا المجلس يمثل عدوانا مباشرا على جميع أعضائه. إخواني أصحاب الجلالة والسمو، تأكيدا لإيماننا الراسخ بأمن دولنا واستقرارها وتطلعات شعوبنا، نعيد التأكيد على التزام دولة الكويت الثابت بمواصلة العمل مع جمهورية العراق الشقيق بجميع التفاهمات والاتفاقات الثنائية، ومنها استكمال ترسيم الحدود البحرية لما بعد العلامة 162 وفقاً للقانون الدولي واتفاقية الأمم المتحدة لقانون البحار عام 1982. وفيما يتعلق بقضيتنا المحورية، نجدد إدانتنا للاحتلال الإسرائيلي الغاشم على أرض فلسطين الشقيقة، ونؤكد ضرورة إنهائه مع تمسكنا بحق الشعب الفلسطيني في تقرير مصيره وإقامة دولته المستقلة على حدود 4 يونيو 1967 وعاصمتها القدس الشرقية، ونسجل إشادتنا بكافة الجهود الدولية المبذولة لتنفيذ حل الدولتين وإنهاء العدوان على غزة. وختاماً أجدد الشكر والتقدير لمملكة البحرين الشقيقة على الإعداد المميز لأعمال هذا الاجتماع، داعياً الله عز وجل أن يوفقنا جميعاً لما فيه خير وعزة ورفعة لدولنا ورفاه وازدهار لشعوبنا، وأن يديم على أوطاننا الأمن والاستقرار والتقدم، وأن يحفظ مجلسنا المبارك ليبقى رمزاً للوحدة والتضامن والتكامل. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Welcome again, dear viewers, to our continuing coverage of the 46th GCC Summit hosted in the Kingdom of Bahrain. To discuss the significance of this summit and the major themes shaping Gulf priorities, we are now joined today in the studio with our distinguished guest, Dr. Salah Al-Hamadi, President of the Arab Open University. Good evening, Dr. Salah, and welcome once again with us here in the studio.
Good evening to you and good evening to our viewers. Thank you for having me here today.
Dr. Salah, before delving deeper into the history of past GCC summits, can we please shed upon and assess the strategic messages shed upon by His Highness the Emir Sheikh Mash'al Al-Ahmad Al-Jaber Al-Sabah, may Allah protect and bless him, and the Kuwaiti vision that they aim during this to contribute in this collective agenda during such important summit at a crucial time?
Well, His Highness the Emir of Kuwait, Sheikh Mash'al Al-Ahmad Al-Jaber Al-Sabah, may Allah protect him and bless him. He focused on three major issues, which is the security of the GCC comes in first place. You know, we have seen in the past year, since the summit was in Kuwait, the evolution and the escalation of political issues, the aggression against Qatar, the war between Iran and Israel, which affected the GCC area. These are, you know, of course, will have a point where there is a need to come into a clear message, the solidarity of the GCC country to enhance the security system in the GCC area, as well as mentioning the escalating the economic collaboration, having the importance of having, you know, clear common market, you know, going through the green energy, having the diversification of the oil in the economic sectors, and then, of course, the Palestinian issue that is always mentioning in every GCC country until it's resolved, clearly resolved. Of course, the aggression upon Gaza is a priority. You know, trying to help the humanitarian issues, you know, the disaster environment in Gaza and Palestine, the stop of the, you know, the aggression of the Israeli aggression against Palestine, and of course, putting a clear path of stopping the aggression and what's the best for the Palestinian people to solve them, because, you know, we have seen in TV, we have seen all over now the social media how the devastating the life and the, you know, the environment that the people who lives in Palestine, especially now, again, winter's coming, trying to accommodate this.
Actually, this is an important matter, and it has been always been a core and important matter to the GCC in previous summits and also this summit, an important file to put it appropriately. But before we touch upon this file, which is in terms of the post-political settlements, because as we know, the Palestinian cause is now moving towards, let's say, after the war period, they're trying to resolve the issue, moving towards a more of like a ceasefire between the Israeli occupation and Palestinians. So we'll touch upon the post-settlement, political post-settlement, but you touched upon an important point, which is the security that has been proposed not only by the Kuwait, but also by the GCC. Can you tell us more about the security and its importance? And it has been discussed before. Can we see it as a continuation of Kuwait's affirmation that security is at the forefront of the GCC, and that any external threat to one GCC state is a threat to all GCC states? Is it a continuation that has been going long?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the security is the major collaboration that the GCC was built on. I mean, if we look back in 1990, how the aggression on Kuwait, the entire GCC was stand up to be a one country against the aggression. So therefore the security, it's a major issue. Putting, if we're going back to Dir Al Jazeera, nowadays they even want to enhance that to share the military intelligence, share the, all the information that we need between countries, between themselves. Looking at for example, the aggression against Qatar, it's not the aggression against Qatar itself, but now it's aggression on the GCC countries themselves. This is not acceptable, and this is being condemned from day one by Kuwait and the GCC country. And the summit touched on the security issue as a priority to the GCC countries.
Priority.
Exactly.
And it's steering consensus.
Exactly.
Between the GCC countries, right?
Yes.
In terms of the geopolitical issues that's going on, the role of Kuwait is steering consensus. Do you see Kuwait steering consensus between GCC states generally, as always Kuwait has done?
Exactly. I mean, Kuwait, it's always playing a very important role as mediators. Kuwait's always playing beyond the scene as an important figure, important player to make sure that all tension is being dealt with as a diplomatic progress. So there is a room for negotiation, there's a room to discuss all tensions between the GCC themselves. Their security is a priority issue. Being, as a mediator, has always been as Kuwait, is a very important issue, not just in the GCC area, but even internationally. If you see how Kuwait's been dealt as the relationship with the superpower people, even with the international, international committees, Kuwait is always, being as an important diplomatic member into trying to make sure that the security issues being dealt diplomatically without using forces.
And Doctor, now before we move to our colleague Nasser Al-Husainan here in the studio, tell us one thing that the GCC would benefit from unified security mechanism, just one thing, before we move to our colleague.
Well, I mean, the important thing is to be, has a strong defense system. Being one nation as security-wise, collaboration will give you a strong word against the aggressioner. Being like we oppose, being as one opposed to the security will send a message that the collaboration in the GCC is real, the collaboration in the GCC is firm, and make the GCC country are listened to by the international committees.
Okay. Yeah, well, that's elaborative. Thank you, Doctor. Now we'll move to our colleague Nasser Al-Husainan here in the studio to get more details in the report he has. There is lots of information to go through coordinated mediation efforts. Nasser Al-Husainan, our colleague in the studio, there is mediation efforts, of course. There is humanitarian aids. There is also unified pacts that have been signed and also being discussed between GCC states. I believe that you have an elaborative report here in your segment, Nasser Al-Husainan.
Yes, thank you, Abdurrahman. Thank you very much. Through coordinated mediation efforts, joint defense mechanisms, and proactive engagement with international partners, the GCC has played a central role in diffusing tensions, supporting humanitarian responses, and reinforcing regional cohesion. As the crisis in the wider Middle East continues, the GCC's ability to act swiftly and collectively remains an essential pillar for safeguarding the region's security and protecting Arab interests. Here's more in the following report.
Gulf Cooperation Council member states have emerged as some of the most influential global actors in both humanitarian assistance and conflict mediation, combining large-scale financial support with active diplomacy. GCC countries have provided nearly $14 billion in official humanitarian aid between 2020 and 2025, making them the fourth largest humanitarian donor globally and the leading donor from the Global South, consistently ranked among the world's top 5. In 2024 alone, total GCC humanitarian contributions reached $3.4 billion. These figures particularly notable because they came at a time when the overall global humanitarian funding declined by about 11% in 2024, according to analysis of the humanitarian funding landscape. In other words, while total global donations were shrinking, the GCC's share and visibility in humanitarian financing were rising. GCC states have also been central to relief efforts for the Palestinian people, especially in Gaza. Kuwait has been repeatedly described by the UN as a humanitarian center, mobilizing air bridges and aid ships to countries in need, alongside sustained financial commitments to the United Nations agencies and NGOs working for the Palestinian people. The GCC's role extends into post-conflict reconstruction and long-term development. GCC assistance were both wide in geography and diverse in sectors, spanning immediate relief, economic support, and long-term development. Kuwait hosted the 2018 International Conference for the Reconstruction of Iraq, where GCC states pledged billions of dollars to support Iraq's recovery from conflict. GCC development institutions such as the Kuwait Fund for Arab Economic Development, the Saudi's Development and Reconstruction Program for Yemen, and the United Arab Emirates Development Agencies also fund infrastructure, energy, health, and education projects in Asia, Africa, and the wider Arab region. The GCC countries also play a pivotal role in mediation and preventive diplomacy, working on crises ranging from Russia-Ukraine to Gaza, US-Iran dialogue, Sudan, and Syria's reintegration. Qatar has become one of the most visible mediators in recent conflicts, as Doha has mediated ceasefire and hostage release negotiations between the Israeli occupation and Hamas, including a proposed deal that linked a temporary truce with the release of hostages and Palestinian detainees. The GCC's role in helping other countries now combines humanitarian generosity with active, often behind-the-scenes diplomacy, and the bloc clearly intends to deepen that role as part of its long-term strategic vision.
Viewers, we're back with our distinguished guest right here in the studio, Dr. Salah Al-Hamadi. Doctor, welcome back and thank you for being with us. Now, let's move to the agenda side. I mean, there is a loaded and busy agenda, as we know and have looked. There is also lots of tensions going on in the region. So there is a heavy responsibility for us to take. How do you think, as Bahrain is the leadership of the GCC Summit, how do you think that would go from the Bahrain's leadership perspective as it hosts the 46th GCC Summit?
Well, I mean, Bahrain has hosted different GCC. This is not the first time that they host GCC Summit. The leadership now with Bahrain, and Bahrain will continue what the previous summit was came up with in Kuwait, to having a clear agenda, continuation of what there has been submitted before. For example, the security-wise in the GCC. We have seen that the Israeli was in a conflict with Iran, and this has affected the transportation, affected the airlines, where also affected the people in the GCC. This is economic-wise and security-wise. So the summit will focus on the security of the GCC, having that Qatar was attacked by Israel, and that's not acceptable. So the Bahrain's GCC Summit will be focusing on making sure that this not happening again. This is unacceptable, and trying to put a clear message to the aggressioner that we are one country. Attacking one country, meaning that you are attacking the entire GCC, and I think that would be a clear message from Bahrain that not just Israel, any aggression is not acceptable.
And Doctor, this raises curiosity, as the points you have been raised. This raises curiosity, as there is several things. If we go back to 1982, there is also the summit that taken place in Bahrain as well. There has been the GIC that also took place and implemented, which is the Gulf Investment Corporation, that of course supported investments between the GCC states. And then we go to 2000. Also, that's one of the things that come to my mind. 2000, there is a mutual defense pact signed between GCC states, and also there is the unified currency and some economic integration related things that have been discussed. And also the 2016 one was an important one, the Al-Khair Declaration, which states that external acts cannot interfere in internal affairs. So do you think these things, combined with security and economics, could shape something in the coming future, as Bahrain will be hosting this coming year?
Of course. I mean, if we look at, the security-wise, yes, it's very important. Now you have touched on an important topic, which is economics, that it goes directly with it. Economic-wise, there is the initiative of having a common market, that it needs to be addressed. The common currency that was talked about before and still needs to be addressed. Of course, there is challenges in every situation. You need to come up some differences. Differences mean not in opinion, but I'm talking about challenges of trying to make it the best, to succeed that or make that economics great for the GCC. GCC countries, GCC residents, the people who lives in these countries. Talking about the railways, that it needs to be addressed. The shared electricity that is always being talked, which is the connection between the GCC themselves, if there's anything happens to it. There was also just a while back the share of between the meeting between the Ministry of Interiors that they agreed on sharing the information, you know, the intelligence information, and they came up with what they called the one-point exit. They're trying to accommodate now. Of course, now you can travel with your, you know, civil ID or not necessarily your passport, but now instead of leaving here through the immigration and then go, let's say, to UAE and then another immigration, they will start from Bahrain and UAE. That's the first trial, where you leave, let's say, Bahrain going to UAE. You go only in one immigration. You know, you leave, you come in with the face recognition, you know, the AI now, it helps with all that. So when you reach UAE, United Arab Emirates, you don't need to go through immigration. You go into you know, the face recognition, and then you just go collect your.
We've witnessed developments. You know, before we move to our colleague Nasser, one last thing is that last GCC Summit was in the state of Kuwait. So it seems like we're moving from crisis management as the GCC countries to actually tackling real issues. So you think, maybe you think that would be a starting point or a turning point for us to maybe move from theory to practice in terms of issues like security and economic integration?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, now it's the time to implement these strategies. The strategy was set here in Kuwait last year. Now it's the time to be implemented. So there's the, if you see what's in the GCC Summit, is more now implementing the strategy of the security, implementing the strategy of the sovereignty of each country, and implementing the strategy of the economics of how we're trying to develop a common market, develop a shared economic market, and all the other stuff, which is the railway and the electricity and all that. But yes, you're right. Now, this summit is more of putting things on stand to make it happen, putting things on practice, putting things on implementing the strategy which has been set. You're very, this is very true on that.
Yeah, that's elaborate. Thank you, Doctor. Now we move to our colleague Nasser Al-Husaynan. Nasser has an elaborative segment on a historical pattern that you have, I believe, in terms of the summits that have taken place. Pacts have been signed, and as well as lots of maybe mediation efforts that have been put. Things have been implemented, things have been discussed. Nasser, we're looking forward to your segment.
Yes, thank you, Abdurrahman, thank you. Where over the decades, the Kingdom has welcomed Gulf leaders 7 times, each summit marking a significant milestone in advancing the march of joint Gulf cooperation. From the early 1980s until today, Bahrain's role has been central in shaping unity, reinforcing shared priorities, and supporting collective political, economic, and security initiatives. The Kingdom of Bahrain is hosting the 46th GCC Summit in Manama on December 3rd, 2025, under the chairmanship of His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa of the Kingdom of Bahrain. Since the establishment in 1981, the GCC has held 45 summits across the capitals of its 6 member states. The Gulf Council's first political gathering was in Abu Dhabi in May 1981, followed by the first regular annual summit in Riyadh later the same year. The summit marks the 8th time Bahrain has welcomed GCC leaders, continuing a long tradition of Gulf dialogue on Bahraini soil. The GCC Summit was previously held in Manama in 1982, 1988, 1994, 2000, 2004, 2012, and 2016, each one leaving a significant imprint on the Council's history. In 1982, During Bahrain's first time hosting, leaders approved the creation of the Gulf Cooperation, a major financial institution supporting joint Gulf development and investment projects. In 1988, the summit placed a strong emphasis on security and defense coordination, occurring at a peak moment of regional tensions. The 1994 summit reinforcing the principles that the security of one GCC nation is the security of all, laying early foundations for collective defense. In the year 2000, leaders in Manama adopted the Mutual Defense Agreement, formalizing joint military cooperation and confirming unified security as a strategic pillar of the Gulf Partnership. In 2004, focus shifted towards economic integration, advancing steps towards the Custom Union and the Gulf Common Market, marking a new phase in regional economic cooperation. And the 2012 summit, leaders addressed regional instability, politic transitions, and emerging security threats, demonstrating Bahrain's ability to host high-stakes diplomatic dialogue during turbulent times. In 2016, the Manama Summit issued a Sakhir Declaration outlining a unified Gulf position on regional conflicts, Iran's policies, and joint counterterrorism efforts. Dear viewers, as Bahrain hosts the 46th GCC Summit, the kingdom once again proves its central role in shaping the Gulf from the early days of economic integration in 1982 to defining the security framework of the 1990s and 2000s. Bahrain's summit have consistently marked turning points in Gulf cooperation. Today's meeting in Manama is not merely another gathering of leaders. It is the continuation of a 4-decade journey built on unity, stability, and a shared vision. The decision made here will continue to echo across the Gulf regions, guiding security, advancing its economic growth, and shaping the future of Gulf diplomacy. Dear viewers, let's head back to my colleague Abdurrahman Al-Mhanna and our guest.
Thank you, Nasser. And dear viewers, we're back once again with our Dr. Salah Al-Hammadi. Doctor, now let's take a look once again at the GCC Summit and the hot topics that are ongoing. Now, we've talked about that the leadership is, of course, with Bahrain for the next year. And one thing that would come to mind, which is significant in, let's say, the past years or decades that have been implemented, at least in past GCC Summits that have been in Bahrain?
Well, if you see, I mean, there's not exactly one thing. There's actually, if you look at it from security-wise, it's been implemented, because you see the aggression in Qatar just recently by Israel. The entire GCC has come into one stand to condemn that. If we look at the
with Arab countries,
yes,
yeah,
of course. If you look at from talking about, for example, sharing the economics integration between the Arab or the GCC countries, you will see that there is a significant move has been done since the previous summit. For example, we just mentioned the common market, the unified customs. Bahrain, yeah, exactly. And now there, as we moved to the immigration status, and where you have 1 point, now they said it's not only the GCC of this country, but also the residents of the country. If you have a valid resident in this country, you still can go through because of the help with the AI. Look at the artificial intelligence now in the GCC countries being implemented. There's a lots of conference between the GCC talking about how to implement the artificial intelligence to benefit from this technology to help the GCC. So actually there is more than one thing that the GCC is working on, making it very important. terms of security, in terms of economics, in terms of other issue like the issue of international.
And Doctor, what about diplomacy? I mean, if we speak about Kuwait, we're known for neutrality, we're known for being mediators, we're known for being humanitarian givers and with humanitarian aid. What about diplomacy, since Bahrain is the leadership?
I think the main diplomacy we'll be talking about at this point is the issue with Palestine. So, yes, we have touched on the condemning the aggression on any GCC, but the main, I believe, topic on this summit as well will be a main topic talking about the issue with Palestine, the humanitarian issue. There was, of course, there was a ceasefire, temporary ceasefire, but now at least it's been reduced. And the talk is about the permanent ceasefire. It's not just a ceasefire by talk, but a ceasefire by permanent ceasefire. And there was, a collaboration and contact between the GCC themselves and the international collaboration, international committee, such as the US, the European Union, to stop all the aggression in the Palestine. Not just the aggression. Now we moved also to the second issue, which is the humanitarian issue, sending the needs. The normal stuff like food, water, clean water, all that things that it needs to be enter into.
And of course, Doctor, the importance of maritime security from
Bab
el-Mandeb to the Strait of Hormuz. This is a unified matter for us,
of
the
course.
GCC. And it's an economic one.
Yes, exactly. I mean, if you listening to the word by His Highness the Emir of Kuwait talking about the respect of the marine type, has been done by the United Nations. So there was talk about the negotiation with Iraq on the issue between Kuwait and Iraq, and this should be respect. And we are doing this diplomatically, and I know the friends in Iraq understand that. The government of Iraq understand the important to move on, because these tension will delay any development, will delay any agreement, will delay any economic growth, and it doesn't help any country, know. So we need to put things together, work things diplomatically, come to the table, let's negotiate what you have, and that's important.
And us unified will make us look stronger.
Definitely, of course.
And, of course, in terms of the international outlook, Doctor, as well, there is one more thing that is important, that is the visit, which was a special visit and a special guest, which is Italy's Prime Minister. Italy's Prime Minister, Giorgia Meloni. That visit is significant. What's your take on that, Doctor? Especially that we have very rare visits. If we think about Xi Jinping, Recep Tayyip Erdogan, and Theresa May in 2016. So, what do you think of that?
I think is that the GCC Summit is expanding, and it's being very important by other nationals. Like if we're having here the Prime Minister of Italy, an important figure in the European Union, this will tell you how important is the GCC Summit now. It's important because of the strength of it, the importance of how economics benefit to any other countries. I mean, Italy is a very crucial player in the European Union. I mean, looking at their economics, looking at how military-wise, how I mean the figure here. It tells you is that the GCC Summit is being crucial to the international committee, and being the Prime Minister, of Italy, being as a part of as an honored guest into the summit, this will tell us that the summit is really important. There's a big, initiative of security and economics collaboration, issues that needs to be discussed, and even looking at as a player of Italian or Italy, the Prime Minister as being an important figure. This will give us also exactly.
Yeah, and also before we move to our colleague now, Nasser, I'd like to raise a point as well. So we know that billions of euros invested in Italy from the GCC states, and also we know that Italy had a plan about a year or 2 years ago, the Mate plan, which is to move from being just an aid giver to Africa to making partnerships, economic partnerships with the 14 African countries. So do you think that expanding through the Mediterranean Sea, and then maybe this is also to make partnerships with the GCC and linking with GCC and also African, and maybe it's a strong link as a European power to make like as a bridge between us and the European powers?
Definitely. I mean, look at the GCC countries are one of the major player in donating and helping humanitarian issue all over the world. Without going, if we focus on Kuwait by itself, you see Kuwait humanitarian issue in Africa, and even reaching Latin America. See how far it is. So being in here to trying to collaborate, being as trying to help in Africa, I think this is a smart move from the Italian side, especially with the amount of not just donating, but the amount of collaborating and partners.
Wanting to actually
exactly.
Be partners.
Trying to share the effort. Of course, Italy is a very intelligent, smart country trying to collect a collaboration and share the idea of helping the African side.
Thank you, Doctor. Well, now we have a recorded phone call with a distinguished guest that we had earlier. We'll move to our colleague Nasser Al-Husaynan, as we believe you have had a guest earlier telling us more on the importance of the GCC Summit. Nasser, please.
Yes. Exactly, Abdurrahman. We now turn to Bahrain, where we're joined earlier by Mr. Ahmed Sabah Salman Salloum, Chairman of Committee on Financial and Economic Affairs and Vice Chairman of Asian Parliament Assembly, to share his perspective on the significance of this 46th GCC Summit, especially given the current regional and international climate, as well as the distinguished of this summit from the previous GCC summits in terms of timing, tone and geopolitical weight. Mr. Ahmed will also share his insight as Member of Parliament on the evaluation of Bahrain's legislative readiness to support the agreement expected to arise from the summit. Here's what he had to say.
The 46th GCC Summit in Bahrain is far from a routine gathering. It is taking place at a moment when our region urgently needs stronger Gulf unity and coordinated security efforts. This means that the statement of the outcomes of the summit will carry significant diplomatic and operational weight, and they will be closely watched by international committees as a reflection of unified Gulf position during a highly sensitive period. From the view of Bahrain's parliament, we are ready to support the summit's result. We already have the laws needed to act quickly, but to turn decision into real action, we must use fast procedures, provide the right funding, and make sure Parliament carefully reviews all steps, especially in security matters where accuracy, openness, and strong legal protection. In summary, Bahrain is prepared, and this summit is a key chance to strengthen Gulf cooperation and support stability in the region.
Welcome back again to this live coverage of the 46th GCC Summit. Back to our day guest here in the studio, Dr. Salah. Please, can we move on to the Gaza file, an important file that's at the heart of the agenda of the GCC Summit. And we have spoken briefly about the Gaza file at the very beginning, and then we said that we'll touch upon more about the political or post-political settlement file, which is more of like leaning towards the idea that we're moving from a let's say war-torn place to a place where there may be reconstruction, there may be a stoppage of the violations of Israeli occupation, and there may be a peace if it's possible. How do you think the Gulf will proceed with such ceasefire implementations or maybe suggestions around the world? How do you think the Gulf would proceed with reconstruction and other things related to Gaza, as it's important to us?
Yeah, well, the GCC countries, they are pushing to complete ceasefire. The idea of stopping a couple days by the Israeli, that doesn't make any sense. Mm-hmm. The true ceasefire, that's what they are after, and to respect the Palestinian people and have the legitimate government of Palestine, having two nations, lives in peaceful, and even they were going further than to have a legitimate country as 1967. Therefore, the summit is not just condemning the Israeli aggression, but asking and trying to force a complete ceasefire, and also after that to reconstruct the Gaza, country. The issue of the humanitarian issue, of course, is also a topic is being addressed because of the sanction that's been put by Israel against Palestine. The issue of Palestine is not a negotiable topic in the GCC Summit. So there was the affirmation. There is a clear message that this aggression needs to be put an end, and the ceasefire needs to be a true ceasefire. There was a big discussion between the GCC country with the U.S., with the European Union, that to stop the aggression and start moving toward reconstructing and building the Palestine, of course, and trying to put an ease to the Palestinian people. I mean, imagine the way that humans lives, children, women, older people, even normal facility would not be accepted. This would not be acceptable, not just to the GCC country. I mean, listen to all the news all over the world. Everybody's against that.
There is a unified stance.
Exactly.
From the media. And the role of media is also playing a more important role. And also, before we take a look at the economy segment with Nasser, can we know if it's even possible or what possibilities are there for the GCC to play in terms of the Palestinian file, especially that it has been going for long? You're speaking about more than 50 years that it has been going. There's lots of resolutions, lots of ceasefires. How far can we go with that?
Of course. I mean, the GCC country has a very good relationship with the international committees. Talking about the US, talking about the European Committee. And this great relationship can put a force through the GCC and through the Arab Nations Council that pushing to stop the aggression in Palestine. Of course, we have a very good relationship with these countries. Mm-hmm. We have a very strong economic resources. We have, all the great partners all over the world, through the U.S., through China, through Russia. Has been talks to, trying to let's come into the table and discuss, without going through, military actions and put, a stop to the aggression. Mm-hmm. So, through the, I would say, through through talking, mediation, that's the role that will come, and we will see mm-hmm. that it will come into the end.
We did see a lot of outcomes, positive outcomes by the GCC also. And now let's take a look at the economic segment with our colleague Nasser Al-Husainan. Nasser, we believe you have an insightful segment on the economic side, and also, economic integration is crucial not only in this segment, also in past segments, and past not only this summit, in past summits. Yeah. Economic integration in terms of customs union, in terms of common free market, in terms of talks of unified currency, as our distinguished Dr. Salah Al-Hamadi has spoken about. So can you please enlighten us, Nasser?
Exactly, sure, I will do. The economic dimensions remain one of the strongest pillars of the GCC. This year's summit is expected to revisit major files, including the Gulf Common Market, cross-border connectivity, transport, integration, energy cooperation, and unified economic frameworks, with member states pushing for a deeper integration and stronger financial coordination. The outcomes of this summit may shape the economic future of the region for years to come. Here's more in this report on GCC economic relations and files to move forward in Bahrain.
The Gulf Cooperation Council has evolved one of its most interconnected economic systems in the Arab region, built on decades of coordinated policies, shared development goals, and strategic alliances. Since its establishment in 1981, the GCC has pursued economic integration as a central pillar of its mission, recognizing that unified markets, harmonized regulations, and coordinated growth strategies are essential for strengthening the region's resilience and global competitiveness. This long-term vision continues to shape the Council's economic agenda, especially as global economic dynamics grow increasingly complex. Joint agreements between GCC member states have formed the backbone of this integration. The establishment of the GCC Custom Union in 2003 and the Common Market in 2008 created a unified economic space that ensures the free movement of citizens, capital, goods, and services. These frameworks not only facilitate intra-GCC trade, but also enhance the region's attractiveness to global investors. The Council has also made significant progress in aligning commercial standards, digital regulations, and industrial policies, efforts that accelerate cross-border investment and support major sectors such as logistics, energy, finance, and tourism. Economic initiatives also launched under the GCC umbrella have further deepened cooperation in critical sectors. Joint infrastructure projects including rail connectivity, energy interconnection grids, and integrated maritime logistics network reflect the region's commitment to building a future-oriented economic ecosystem. Additionally, GCC initiatives support food and water security strategies, digital transformation programs, and collaborative research in emerging technologies, all of which help position the Gulf as a leader in sustainable development and innovation. Beyond international frameworks, the GCC has built robust alliances with regional and international partners to expand its economic influence. Strategic agreements with countries in Asia, Europe, and Africa, including free trade talks, energy cooperation frameworks, and investment partnerships, have strengthened the Council's global presence. These alliances ensure diversified trade routes, secure energy markets, and enhanced economic diplomacy, particularly vital amid rising geopolitical risks in the region. As the GCC advances toward future summits, its economic relationships continue to evolve in support of long term prosperity and regional stability. Member states are increasingly focused on integrated new industries, fostering private sector competitiveness, and aligning national development strategies with collective Gulf priorities. Through joint agreements, ambitious initiatives, and expanding alliances, the GCC remains firmly positioned to shape a unified, resilient, and globally connected economic landscape that supports the aspiration of its people and reinforces its strategic weight on international stage.
Hello again, our dear viewers, and thank you for continuing to follow up on the 46th GCC Summit in Bahrain. Doctor, let's take a look at the economic segment, and of course we have looked at the economic segment, especially the economic integration is crucial to the GCC states, not only this year or the past year, but the past years and decades. What can the viewers learn about economic integration simply?
Well, of course, the economics integration for the GCC is very important. I mean, looking at creating jobs. You know, nowadays with the AI integration, you know, every day we have new technology. Technology is moving very fast, so we have to move with that changes in the technology. Of course, certain jobs will be eliminated and a lot of jobs will be created. So the GCC will be focusing on you know, the economic side of creating these jobs, trying to integrate with the new technology and trying to update their system, trying to update you know, all the changes. Like, for example, we hear a lot now in the news talking about the smart cities, where to put a more benefit to the resident and less challenges, more of welfare benefit to the residents, using you know, everything nowadays. We look at you know, we don't need to go. For example, anything I want to do in a bank, I don't need to go to the physical bank itself. I could do it through my mobile, as the fintech nowadays has been changing. So therefore, the economic issue is a very important, trying to escalate. That's one thing. The other issue is trying to work through the renewable energy. Nowadays, the GCC is using about 30%, I believe, from renewable energy, and this is a huge, you know, transformation. Using most, you know, 30% of its energy through the green solar energy. That's a great thing, and this.
So it's even playing an important role in energy and kind of green energy as well, and renewable energy.
Yes, yes, exactly. I mean, this will, of course, the evolution of the economics issue. So changing from just being an export to only crude oil. Now we see lots of different, like oil refineries, trying to deal with lots of what we call clean energy, hydrogen. All these things is being transformed into the GCC Summit, where this will bring a benefit to the resident of the countries. As I have mentioned earlier, there was some challenges in the energy grid between the GCC themselves, and this will be put into discussion to eliminate these challenges. Also, the railway that has been dealt with before, and there was some delay from different countries. However, the delay is not because of the country itself, but trying to negotiate with international companies to build the railway, because you know, this need to have an international company to come and help in this matter. Also, some of the issue about the common market, immigration issue, all this, of course, put into the economics issue to make the GCC a lot better in economics issues.
Now, to more things that raise curiosity as well. Going back to the previous summit that took place in Kuwait, we've seen the implementation of important economic matters such as the linking electricity grid and also attracting foreign investments and alongside the other things. So how would you see such summit, current summit, that would revive such economic projects and go further with it, especially that, you know, that I've mentioned the important thing about foreign investments.
Well, the good things is about the summit now is not to start to negotiate the link of energy, but it's to start from where we have stopped and find that challenges. So there will be putting things into practice, things into implementation, this issue. So there is, of course, there is advanced in the linkage in the electricity. Where there is a link between Oman and UAE, but we're trying to put all that between the sixth nation of the GCC. So linked, there was a huge negotiation between Oman and Kuwait to link and trying to even, you know, like. There is the need of, if you have an access energy, I can rent that energy from you. So there is the negotiation. Of course, as I mentioned, the challenges is not in the country itself. The challenges is about the technology itself. So the GCC is negotiating with different partners, with different huge companies to help to facilitate that challenges. I mean, you know, building a huge plant like this, connecting from one country to a country, of course, is not easy. It needs a lot of technology, needs a huge, advanced company to come in, help in that matter.
But Doctor, if the base is there, I mean, the talks and negotiations and the implementation that have taken place, and especially about the foreign, attracting foreign investments, so we could actually see a revival of such important projects, and as well as we could see unified maybe tariff policies, unified way of attracting foreign investments. We could say, even if it's talks and then further implementations with our visions 2030, 2035.
Of course. There is been talk about even the unite currency. You know, the currency was supposed to be in 2012, I believe, but it was stopped because of certain issue, because of, you know, the changes internationally, you know, the devaluation of the dollar up and down. There was the crisis back in 2008, the economic crisis where shift lots of unexpected economics issues. Things is, I would say, outside the system, you know, that changes the economics plan. But however, the talks is there, you know, having the unified system, trying to facilitate the trade, facilitate, you know, the currency itself, facilitate the AI system nowadays as a technology which also enhance the economics issues. All this is there. There's, you know, the great things is that the GCC leaders, they do understand that they do support the economics issue, and they wanted to eliminate the, you know, all the challenges. But as I mentioned, some of the challenges is outside the system, which is outside the GCC, where it's the international knowledge needed, the international, you know, some of the technology we don't have it. We need to import this into the system, and it needs time. It needs to collaborate with it, and unified the system to have a great economic
Exactly.
system.
Exactly. Thank you, Doctor. I'm sure the Gulf would get to that point. They're putting extensive efforts worldwide. Now we go to our colleague Nasser Al-Husainan, as he has an important segment and recorded phone call for further information on the GCC Summit. Nasser, please enlighten us.
Okay. Dear viewers, now we take you with this shared video again from the Kingdom of Bahrain with our guest Mohammed Al-Ali, chief reporter at the Gulf Daily News, who will delve into the significance of this summit from the perspective of an editorial head. What distinguishes this summit, and how does Bahrain hosting the 46th GCC Summit influence the political messaging directed at the region, as Mr. Al-Ali will also highlight the extent of Gulf media institutions and shaping a unified political narrative that supports regional stability. Let's follow.
Bahrain is hosting a significant GCC Leaders Summit in its 46th edition, and there are a lot of topics and schemes and projects awaiting approval, and mainly the FTA agreements with 3 countries, South Korea, Pakistan and Canada, in addition to an FTA agreement with the UK. 95% of that agreement is complete and 5% remains negotiations. And there are a lot of other issues, such as the unified electricity grid and enhancing and developing that grid to allow member states to start selling electricity to neighboring countries, starting with Iraq. And there is plans to unify custom systems, unify data systems, unify information systems, unify traffic systems, which is a huge step forward and will help a lot in the systems of the GCC, as all member states will be aware of everything, all of the data, information, and all of the violations, whether related to Bahrain or Saudi or Kuwait or Qatar or Oman or the UAE, will be available, and that's a step forward. There are a lot of ideas for security, military, and intelligence cooperation, which is a good thing as the GCC starts to develop its security and defense system. The GCC is way ahead of many other countries in the region and the world in many advancements and technologies. And with the meeting tomorrow, we are expecting that this will be even further enhanced to meet people's aspirations. There are a lot of opportunities, whether jobs, whether advancements in medical and insurance and education and higher education. I mean, there is vast advancements and huge steps that the GCC will take for the future. I mean, there are a lot of plans, even with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia hosting the World Cup in 2034, and preparations as a unit for that prestigious event from now. And also there is tourism, unified promotion of products made in the GCC, and even in agriculture, we have in housing, we have in also in relation to property and sale and development. I mean, there are a lot of vast ideas available, and tomorrow we'll see the GCC leaders looking to take that step into the future.
Thank you, Nasser. And now we're back to this live coverage, the 46th GCC Summit hosted in the Kingdom of Bahrain, with our guest here in the studio, Dr. Salah Al-Hammadi. Doctor, we're back, and of course, we're going to take a look at the final communique that has also taken place during the summit. We know that there is a final communique that has touched upon the rejection of use of threat of force, and also touched upon the security and strategic initiatives between member states, as well as taking place, touching upon any violation on member states is a violation to collective security, as we also touched upon that has taken in previous GCC summits, that any violation to any GCC member, it is a violation and threat to any GCC member. Also, Doctor, there is a strengthening cooperation also between member states towards unity between all members, and economic advancements and technological advancements. We've touched upon that in our economic segment. And one final thing that came at the heart of the final communique is the implementation to end the Gaza war. That was in the final communique, full commitment of the GCC member state to ending the Gaza war. They have for them to have the independent state of Palestine. So, Doctor, what's your take on the final communique of the GCC member states?
Well, I mean, looking at the security issues. The security issues are very important, as we have seen the aggression against Qatar, and that's not acceptable. You know, as I mentioned back in 1990, when you know, there was an aggression against Kuwait by Iraq, the entire GCC stood up and stopped that aggression. Now we're talking about the final decision is that any aggression on the GCC is not acceptable.
It's an aggression to collective security.
Exactly. So therefore, putting a clear message that this aggression or the security is not negotiable.
And it could signal to what you've said about the violation that happened by the Israeli occupation in Qatar in September.
Exactly. Yeah. And even though that the Israeli came up later on and apologized, and then there was an assurance by President Trump that this aggression would not happen again, and we stood behind Qatar, of course. However, still there is, you know, this summit is making sure that this will not happen again. And that's, you know, the entire GCC country is going to be looking at security-wise as a one country. That's one thing. Economic-wise, yes, of course, it's very important nowadays, because the entire GCC is working collectively to work to mitigate the challenges against, you know, or that face the economic issue in terms of, you know, one market, one unified market, the issues with the, you know, the immigration, tariffs and all that.
Customs union.
Exactly.
And adapt to technological advancement. As you've mentioned, the AI and,
exactly.
and the new things coming out.
And the good things is that you see that the immigration now, they will implement the one-point exit through Bahrain as under test between Bahrain and UAE, and this is of course this is, you know, using the AI system. And finally,
the full commitment to ending the Gaza war.
Oh yes, and that's the full commitment into the Gaza war, putting an end, a true stop ceasefire that will put a devastating you know, end to the war of Palestine and Israel. And, you know, stopping the aggression is not just stopping, as you mentioned. We're talking about full stop of the aggression and dealing with helping the Palestinian people again, trying to rebuild Palestine, giving them the you know, all the security needs, all the education needs, the health, food supplies, you know, all the basic human needs that needs to be delivered and making Palestine revived again. You know, looking at the Palestine team playing now, it's a great things. You know, in the Arab world just recently in Qatar. And this is just to show you that we are behind Palestine's case.
Exactly.
100%.
In past decades.
Exactly.
Yeah. That was elaborative, Doctor, your remarks on the final communique. Thank you so much for these insightful answers in our past segment. Well, thank you, Dr. Salah Al-Hamadi, President of the Arab Open University, for your time and effort. It was a pleasure hosting you, Dr. Salah.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for the GCC Summit to give us this opportunity to talk about it. And hopefully we will see all the benefit to the GCC country and the Arab nations.
Hopefully, and we hope to have you once again here in our studio. Our viewers, this brings us to the end of this live coverage of the 46th GCC Summit hosted in the Kingdom of Bahrain. We hope you enjoyed this set of reports and guest contributions. Have a pleasure evening and goodbye.